Coming at you live from the 93.7 The Ticket studio. From the heart of Lincoln, America, this is What's Next 24. With the authors of Next 24, Michael Worrell and Sheri Tills.
All right, welcome in. What's Next 24 every Sunday morning. We got a pre-recording for today, but you guys can still join in. 402-464-5685, Sergeant Haven text line, and of course, Facebook, YouTube, XL, Channel 961. Got a great guest in studio, but the host is always Mike and Sheri Worrell.
All right, well, welcome to What's Next. Well, I'm proud we've got a special show today where our show brings people in to share their special journeys and story. Sheri, why don't you introduce our special guest?
I am super duper, and I know that's just so lame to say super duper, but I'm lame sometimes. I am so dang excited to introduce our guest today because not only is Mr. Rick Haffey a musician, a writer, a storyteller, whose journey from Omaha to California, to Colorado, New Mexico, and back again is filled with grit, creativity, and heart. Not only that, he is one of my best, closest friends, and I've known him, we won't say how long, but for almost forever. Right, Rick?
I think that's a fair estimate. Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
we're
you.
old enough to have some forevers.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we had our big class reunion for Westside High School this weekend, but we're not going to say what year the reunion was. Not
Yes.
out loud.
That's right.
Thank you.
That's
I'll
right.
pay you later.
Okay.
Well, Rick, I'm glad you're here today. We got to talk on the phone yesterday, and the theme that I kept thinking about in this was blazing your own trail, your journey. You've got one heck of a story to share. Why don't you tell us about the early years, where you're from, and the early beginnings for us?
I'm originally from Omaha and grew up in what was West Omaha at the time, but is now Central Omaha. I went to Omaha Westside High School and grew up in District 66 amongst teachers. My father was the vice principal. First, he started teaching at Omaha Westside in 1958 through 64, at the same time as a guy named Nick Nolte, who was apparently kind of a punk, quote
Yes.
unquote. And
Didn't he get kicked out of Westside?
I'm not sure. He did some time at Benson too, so who knows?
Yeah.
But you know, I'm writing a book, and my story about that is that if I meet Nick in Hollywood, I will tell him there are two people in the room that went to Omaha Westside, and I'm the other one, and that if he doesn't like me, then he's still kind of a punk. But anyway, who knows what he remembers. But in any case, my father then went to the junior high, Arbor Heights Junior High in Omaha, that fed into Omaha Westside. And that's where I would have met Sheri. And my father was the vice principal and the disciplinarian
Very much
of,
so.
and Disciplinaria is not a Greek island. So it's, you didn't get sent to the principal, you got sent to Mr. Haffey.
And that was scarier than being sent to the principal for most of the boys.
Yes. However, a lot of those bad guys, as you would put it, that needed a little extra guidance in their guidance counseling, came back and had told me later that if it wasn't for my dad, they might have been in prison.
Yep.
So it was a different era, and my dad was a very beloved character, maybe feared by some, but he immediately upon retiring District 66, he was voted into the District 66 Hall of Fame. And so I'm very proud about that. And I'm very happy with my upbringing there.
Well, and Rick, let's back up just a second. Tell us, many Nebraskans will probably know your dad. What did your dad do in terms of athletics in the state of Nebraska?
He was a Big 8 football ref. He started off with the Metro Conference in Omaha as a high school officiate. Now, he did both basketball and football, but he did small colleges, and from there was recruited into the Big 8 Conference in the 70s, and then went on to become the commissioner of football officials. He also did high school and college basketball, and so he was a local kind of mentor for people. He's the guy that kind of suggested a guy named Cleet Blakeman coming out of refereeing some of the small colleges, and he had recommended him to the Big 12 and Cleet took it from there. And so he was a pretty highly regarded guy and involved in coaching and officiating. And so, had a pretty good athletic footprint in the state.
Oh, he did. And what I enjoyed with your and my conversation yesterday was in terms of that's a big shadow on you, isn't it? We talked a little about this. You wanted to grow up and like my father and your father. If my father was a teacher, I was going to grow up to be a teacher. You thought about that, didn't you, at some point?
Well, it's hard not to. It's kind of, the thing I really I look back on is that my Nebraska upbringing in Omaha and Midwest, shall we say, the sensibilities of that, a very good foundational thing. But I think probably some of my strong points, and I was, of course, very interested in athletics. I did some officiating. I did a little bit of coaching, a very brief time when I was back in Omaha. But I was highly involved in athletics as a little kid. And the problem for me was that I was a very late bloomer. So I matured lately. It's very difficult, and particularly in junior high. At about through 7th grade, I was, a very formidable competitor. And then I just got passed up as guys were just aging faster than me. And so that was a little bit of a struggle. Meantime, whatever talents I had tended to be things that were, I guess, in the context of the Midwest, maybe a little unconventional. So even though, certainly my father would have been a noble goal to follow in his footsteps, as a lot of sons did. And a lot of us spent our lives, and maybe even after our fathers have passed on, are still trying to please them in some way. I don't think that's an unusual thing. And certainly not in the Midwest, it isn't. I saw it everywhere. And but my goals and my talents tended to point towards some unconventional things. And so I look at Omaha and Nebraska as very anchoring. And the thing about an anchor is that it can also hold you back while it's holding you in place. And so, some of the things I wanted to do were the equivalent of telling my parents that I was going to join the circus. So
in their mind, that's what anything else
that's
was.
right. So I had to take some drastic action, and I guess we can get to that in a little bit. But
tell the story. I love the story though. Tell us. You're like traditional student. You're going to go to UNL.
Yeah.
And so you pack up. You come down to UNL,
and
you were going to be a veterinarian, correct?
Yeah. That lasted about half a semester, and so I had always been had a strong affinity for animals. My grandmother on my father's side was a rural and kind of a farm woman, and she was one of those animal whisperers. And I took after her, and I just had a way with animals. And so I just thought, well, I'm going to be a veterinarian. Well, what family wouldn't want to hear that from their child? Of course, that was supported very much. It was conventional, but it was a noble aspiration. And the reality of it is that Nebraska did not, and still has not, come up with a veterinary school of medicine. So I would have had to apply to Iowa State or Kansas State or some other place outstate. And to do that, they can be very selective, only the cream of the crop. And by cream of the crop, I mean somebody who doesn't spend their first college year writing limericks and playing ping pong until 4 a.m. And so I had I think about a 2.2, 2.3 grade point average. I had calculus and inorganic chemistry. I got a D in the calculus and a C in the chemistry. I liked chemistry a little bit, but I liked organic chemistry. And a big part of my struggles, I suppose, you have to get pretty lucky on instructors. I've had some very inspiring instructors. They're typically hard on you, but you're challenged, and you realize later on that they were just great. They're very memorable teachers, and it's like having a coach you want to play for. Makes a big difference. And so I didn't have that. I didn't care about calculus. You have to do the problems. You have to do the homework. And again, the homework I was doing had nothing to do with calculus. And so it was amazing that I didn't flunk, to tell you the truth. You know, whatever math skills that I was kind of good at that got me by intuitively became a situation where you just can't get by, can't show up and just figure it out. You have to do the homework and you have to practice. And the chemistry was, you know, the main thing with chemistry. I thought, well, I'm going to buckle down. I'm going to take a Saturday morning 6-hour lab starting at 7 a.m. And
Oh, dopey you.
yeah, I thought, because I told everybody, you know, well, you gotta really you have, you know, great GPA and you got to really buckle down, you know. And I was a child, probably would have benefited from a couple, 3 years gap between high school and starting college, but I just went straight into it, of course. And we just goofed around a lot. It was fun. It was an educational experience, but not academically particularly. And so, you know, the only good thing about the lab, about the 6-hour lab, was that it was in a building right next to Memorial Stadium. So in the fall, when we, you know, sometimes we get out early, but basically we'd get done with class and could go right to the stadium to see the game on home Saturdays. And so that was a difficult time. I did very well in advanced placement English. And that's what kept me afloat. I got a B+ in that. And so after the first semester, I just drifted, took a lot of classes, trying to decide what my next move was going to be. And I went in, I was doing well in creative writing, and I went into my advisor, and she suggested they didn't have a creative writing program either. And so she suggested the journalism would be my next major, and advertising would be the best choice in terms of creating creative writing. And so that's what I did. I started into that, and that led to you know, kind of a major moment later on.
Well, here's what I love is the turning point in your life when you've got to go tell your father you've changed majors. And then, and tell me if I'm wrong, is this about the time you decided to let's load the Volkswagen?
Well, I'll tell you.
This will be a good story here.
Yeah, the other part of the story is my best friend at college. He was a pre-med major, had aced his MCATs. He was Jewish, which was a Jewish family. So my son, the doctor. So we both had, my dad was in education, and he was on his way to become a doctor. My friend had an IQ of 170. I've heard that Einstein's was 160.
Wow.
He was a very bright guy, but he was having doubts. Over the summer, his father, who was in the Air Force, arranged for him to observe some surgery at a base hospital. And my friend discovered that he couldn't take the sight of blood, which is not a little bit challenging, but it was more of an omen because he had serious doubts about what his future would look like. And so did I. And there was a particular moment when that happened at the end of my junior year on a field trip to Bozell and Jacobs was the ad agency.
Oh, was that what that was?
Yes. And of course, at the time, they were, I think, the number 5 agency in the world in terms of billing. Very powerful and a top agency. So it wasn't, they were serious about their work and they were good at it. They did the Old Home Bread and Mavis and all that stuff. That was them.
They did
Chip
Godfathers
Davis
too, didn't they?
I think so.
Yeah.
Chip Davis, Mannheim Steamroller and Fresh Air and all that stuff. He was doing, some music for them. They had top-notch staff. And Bill Fries, I think, the guy that wrote Convoy, that was based on the thing. But that was his ad campaign, and he's the one that wrote that hit song and so forth. So they had some powerhouse people there. And at the time, I was in a copywriting class with a guy named A.C. Book. Now, anybody of my generation who was in journalism has heard the name A.C. Book. He was a New York ad guy, and he was an award-winning guy, and had come to Nebraska somehow and become a professor. And his big legend was that he had never given an A as a grade. And so every time I'd tell somebody, well, I got AC Book coming up here for this semester, and people would start laughing. Like, not in a kind way. They were like, oh boy, are you in for it type of thing. Like they know what I was
You're toast.
facing. Yeah, because everybody was toast. Well, I happened to excel. I liked it. He was brutal on people. He just would, he did not settle for less. He was a very, very concerned about quality, and he was preparing us, or trying to, for a very dog eat dog world that demanded a level of success and dedication, and he was not going to settle for anything less. And so that's what it was. And so I happened to excel at that. At the end of the semester, I always did well in the class, and he would often hold up my particular assignment. He would just brutalize everybody else. This is terrible, Bob. There was only one assignment that showed any value at all, and it was usually mine. And so I knew I was getting some validation. My creativity was coming out, and I was doing very well. And but he took us to Omaha for this field trip. And the idea of the field trip was to show us young people, you too could have this life one day. And so they showed us, and they said, at the end of the tour, we've got a big surprise for you. Big surprise. That was a red flag for me. And this is in the book. We'll talk about that later. It was in my book, this episode. That was a red flag because when I was a little kid in elementary school, we had a field trip to a farm in North Omaha. And they kept saying, the end of the day, we're going to have a big surprise for you. So I thought, okay, well, that's candy or, a little animal we can take home, or at least, some kind of a pony ride.
Yeah.
So the big surprise at the end of the day was they walked this white horse out of a barn, and that was it. We couldn't even pet it. We couldn't ride it. We certainly couldn't take it home. It was a beautiful animal, but I was like, what? Everybody else was ooh and on. I was like, wait a minute. That's not a big surprise. It's a surprise. It's a bad surprise. Not, not a positive thing. We got gypped. So immediately I was triggered. Well, big surprise. Well, at the end of the day at Bozell and Jacobs, it was, of course, a beautiful headquarters building. And they took us into this state-of-the-art theater, and they showed us the big surprise. And that was a corporate film that had, for their client, Northern Natural Gas, which went on to become part of a company called Enron. That's a whole nother chapter. But what it was a feel-good, something that they show people, and instead of giving them raises, like, oh, you get to be part of the team. And some people wear hard hats and look at test tubes full of, colored water. And there's, business meetings where you're shaking hands and studying charts, and they're actors. It was staged. Right. And so it wasn't, and of course you had this canned music, which at the time when synthesizers were just starting, and you have this, those electronic drums, ding, 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 everything was like that every few seconds. 3 screens, multimedia, video plus slides and all this stuff. And I started to panic, not in a sweaty way, but I'm like, I put all my eggs in this basket. I had one basket that fell apart. Over. And I finally found another path, and that was not what I was expecting. So I thought to myself, I can't put in 10 or 20, 30 years of doing this kind of stuff. I wanted to write television ads, and I wanted to be cutting edge and stuff like that. Well, you don't get to just show up as, at 21 years old and go, okay, I'm here. You have to be a grunt for a while. That's just life. Right. And of course, but they treated this like this is the top of the mountain. And indeed, look, the client I'm sure was thrilled. Yeah. Because that's what it was supposed to do. They did their job, but that was not the job I wanted to do. And now what? I went back up to campus, and I talked to my friend, and within a day or two, we decided that we would quit college and run off to California to write screenplays, be in the movie business. My friend, in addition to his other talents, was the movie reviewer for the Daily Nebraskan, the school paper. He interviewed a guy who was in town to have the world premiere of a rubber monster movie. That movie was called Slithus, which, if you're going to have a world premiere in Lincoln, you can tell that maybe has not gone with the wind. And so this guy, my friend introduced me to this director as well. And we said, we're kind of interested in, writing screenplays and getting in the movie business. And this director said, you got to do it. You got to do it.
Come on down.
Come on out. I'll help you. When you get to LA, come to my house in Playa del Rey on the beach. And, so probably Bridget Bardot is on the deck sunning. It's the images that you're creating. But what it was permission to be unconventional. And my friend and I, that was the moment. It was that combination of things, our disillusionment. We both had a lot to lose because of our, we wanted to have an adventure. It was just not what was done. And so that's when I had him stay with me over the summer. My parents said, fine. Yeah. Because his parents had moved to Phoenix. And so of course it would be easier for my friend to stay with me in Omaha. And then it was much more convenient to move back to Lincoln in the fall. So we both got jobs and we conspired. We bought a 67 Volkswagen microbus, like, two dorky hippies, without the beads. And, we fixed this thing up. We spent $500 on the van and $600 on the stereo for it. And we loaded up at the end of the summer. We didn't tell our parents, which is now we're talking about your question. And that was a very, intentional motive that we had there, or plan. We felt that we couldn't tell our parents what we were going to do for, I guess, obvious reasons. Now there's a certain, people have said, well, why didn't you just talk to your parents about it? My dad was a lifetime educator, so I'm going to quit college after my third year. His parents, he's going to not be a doctor. He's going to head out on the road like some knucklehead and do what? Run to the beach? It's a kind of insanity. That's we're going to run off and join the circus. It's
Rick,
that level of craziness.
I have to know, did you sneak off in the dead of night?
We didn't have to do that because we didn't tell anybody.
Oh, you just left and didn't?
What it was we about a week before we left, I was dating a girl. We were pretty serious. Her parents were concerned that she might marry me. She went off she got accepted to Brown University, an Ivy League university. Her parents moved. They had relocated to Omaha, and then her dad opted to relocate back to the East Coast, ostensibly to be closer to their daughter. But part of that was they were afraid. They wanted to get her out of Nebraska because they were afraid that our thing was too serious. And she was a wonderful, wonderful girl. And so, but I told her, she thought I was breaking up with her. And I said, no, that's not it. I said, here's what we're going to do. We have not re-enrolled. We're not going to stop and get our classes. We have quit college. We're going to go to the West Coast. So all it was that our long distance relationship was about to double in distance. She went to the East Coast. I went to the West Coast. So that's all it was. Our friends, a couple of friends knew at the very last moment, but we basically didn't tell anybody. Why? Especially our parents. We didn't want to deal with 3 months of grief and hand wringing and arguments, all that stuff. It would have been much more difficult, to be honest. So I felt, and I still feel, that it was the right decision because it was the lesser of two evils.
Mm-hmm.
With that, real quick, I see Harrison give us the break signal. We'll be right back. A little bit more with Rick in just a minute.
At Valentino's, we're on a mission for tradition. On every slice, for every bite. Golden baked crust, cooked to perfection every time. savory sweet sauce that's made from our own secret recipe. Loaded with the perfect amount of fresh toppings and melty mozzarella cheese. It's the tradition that Nebraskans have come to love. From game day to every day. Valentino's. Taste the tradition.
Give your furnace a break with the help of Heartland of Nebraska Windows. Heartland of Nebraska Windows offers a free estimate, full window replacements, all vinyl triple pane windows, and a lifetime warranty of everything, while still keeping their prices affordable. Sounds too good to be true, right? Heartland of Nebraska Windows is locally and family owned with their own team of installers. Give the window experts at Heartland of Nebraska Windows a call today at 402-430-3852 or visit them online at heartlandofnebraskawindows.com. Elevate your home or business with the help of Heartland of Nebraska Windows today.
A1 Automotive's second location is now open at 5110 State Hill Drive, just off of Yankee Hill Road. The new location continues to specialize in all makes and models and provides personalized service as they have for 15 years. With the school year here, A1 Automotive reminds you that college students get 10% off any service, and they offer free tire repair with a valid college ID. Schedule your appointment today at a1autolincoln.com and visit their new location in South Lincoln at 5110 State Hill Drive or downtown at 11th and L.
Have you been injured in an accident and don't know where to turn? You need an attorney you can trust to handle your case with professionalism and compassion. The attorneys at Liberty Law Group understand that a call to an attorney is a call for help. If you've been injured, we want to help you. Liberty Law's experienced attorneys are committed to the pursuit of justice for those injured. Call Liberty Law and find out how we can help you get the compensation you deserve. Call 877-42-LIBERTY. Call the trial attorneys you can trust. 877-42-LIBERTY.
Sherizo Construction is now hiring for skilled craftsmen, steel erectors, concrete workers, and general laborers. Sherizo Construction offers great benefits like premium wages, health and dental insurance, paid holidays and vacation, 401k with company match, life insurance, and disability insurance. They pride themselves on a legacy of 40 years built on integrity and trust. Joining their team means becoming part of a family that values hard work, dedication, and mutual respect. Apply today at sherizo.com. That's SCHWISOW.com.
Since 1983, Fast Mike's Roll-Offs has been an trusted and reliable company in Lincoln and the surrounding areas. Fast Mike's handles all sides of construction projects, home renovations, or big cleanouts. With the perfect size dumpster to fit your needs, Fast Mike's Roll-Offs will haul it all. With same-day delivery in Lincoln, affordable rates, and top-notch service, Fast Mike's Roll-Offs make cleanup quick and easy. Call now at 402-450-6828 or visit us online at fastmikesrolloffs.com. Book your dumpster today. Fast Mike's Roll-Offs, cleanup made simple.
Are you looking for an exciting new way to put your skills to work? Explore new career options in the fintech industry at Currency, a Sandhills Global company. We offer full-time positions in financial sales, compliance, operations, and other fields. We also offer a 4.5-day work week, an attractive benefits package, and opportunities for advancement. Put your motivation to work and grow with us at Currency. Visit gocurrency.com/careers to learn more.
Breaking here at the news desk. When you stack Allo Internet, DirecTV, and mobile, you can lock in your price for 2 years. Sources are confirming that when you stack Allo Internet, DirecTV, and mobile, your monthly price drops and you're locked in for 2 years. That's fiber fast internet, premium streaming TV, and reliable nationwide mobile coverage. And this just in, you must switch by Labor Day to secure that locked-in pricing for 2 years. Switch, stack, and save at allofiber.com/stack.
Bring new life to metal treasures with Kaiser Blasting and Coatings. From railings and fences to outdoor furniture and unique antiques, their expert team removes years of rust and weathering, then finishes each piece with a lasting powder coat. Trusted by industries across the region, now local homeowners and businesses can experience the same professional care. Visit KaiserBlasting.com or call 402-421-3559 to request your quote. Restore, protect, and make your metal shine like never before with the help of Kaiser Blasting and Coatings.
Gaina Trucking is hiring CDL Class A and B drivers. Their strong team culture makes it not a job, but a career. Gaina Trucking offers health, vision, and dental insurance, 401k with company match, an employee assistance program, and other bonus programs. Build a better career today with great team culture at Gaina Trucking. Learn more and apply today at GainaTrucking.com.
Back to What's Next 24 from the 93.7 The Ticket Studio with the authors of Next 24, Michael Worrell and Sheri Tills.
All right, welcome back in segment number 2. What's Next 24 every Sunday morning. We got Mike and Sheri, the host as always, along with a great guest in studio.
All right, welcome back, everyone. We're with Rick Happy, a.k.a. Ricky Dean, and we're talking about the Blazing Trail. Rick, I got to just commend you because so many kids, in my lifetime, always talked about the journey, heading east or heading west. But no.
None of us had the guts.
They're still here in Lincoln. You did it. You got your mindset. You're ready to go. Let's go back to the event. You're in this Volkswagen, and please share the story because I asked you on break. What was the music you were listening to heading west?
Okay. My friend, his favorite stuff was he loved Stevie Wonder, Songs of the Key of Life, and that one. But his favorite thing that we listened to was The Stranger by Billy Joel, maybe his first giant hit. And all those, and that was great music. Mm-hmm. But mine was There Goes Ryman Simon. That just had a lot of, it was American Tune is the name of the song, because it just had the spiritual resonance with what we were doing. And the other one was Jethro Tull's Greatest Hits because it had the song Skating Away. And if you listen to the lyrics of Skating Away, it's almost exactly what we were doing, skating away on the thin ice of a new day. I can't get much closer than that spiritually. Yeah. And so that's what we were doing. It was very thin ice. We were, for all intent and purposes, insane. But we had each other. We talked each other into this craziness. And what's the worst that can happen? Just, we're two young guys. We're somewhat capable, and we drove to California we loaded up the van. Nobody noticed that we had every possession.
Mom didn't notice?
Nobody really, they didn't notice that part because it's like, well, if you would have been looking closely, it would have been hard to fit all that stuff in a dorm room. Yeah. We had everything. And off we went in this, this thing had a lawnmower for engine, it was at that time, I can't remember. It was something ridiculous. You wouldn't even believe it. It was like a 12 or 1300 cc engine, and it had something like 30 horsepower, something like. So going up the mountains in the Rocky Mountains, it was slow. Very slow. And we finally made it to California, and we got a motel, as I recall. We probably slept in truck stops or something. I don't remember. Maybe we got a motel, but we landed in San Jose at some point. And the manager there let us, we check in at noon. And so we got 2 nights for the price of one. We slept and slept and slept. And then we got up, went to dinner. We went to the movie Animal House. And then was our official night. And we got a fresh start and hit the California coast, stopped to look at San Simeon there because we both loved Citizen Kane, that was modeled after the Hearst Castle. San Simeon Hearst Castle was in the movie was modeled after San Simeon along the California coast. And we passed by Santa Barbara, where one of our favorite movies, The Graduate, took place. Mm-hmm. And there's another story that's in my book about a young man disillusioned with his expectations. He had just finished college. Of course, we didn't finish entirely, but if you remember the story, he meets, he has an affair with this woman, but then falls in love with her daughter. And then they run off together after a lot of plot happens. But it was and he runs out. He's got a sports car. He goes to find her before she gets married. He runs out of gas and has to run to the church and yell Elaine, and she's already married, but she still runs off with him. And he leaves his Spider Veloce coupe on the side of the road. He rejects his upper middle class upbringings, and he's going to run off with the girl of his dreams, and they're going to have an amazing life, and they're in the back of a city bus, and off they go. So they're rejecting the richness, and they're going to be plain old people and have a love. And of course, the last shot, which is like, have we done the right thing? And so it was very, and it was one of our favorite movies. So anyway, but we come into Los Angeles, and we drove straight to the movie director's house in Playa del Rey, which was not nearly as glamorous as we had imagined. And luckily it was a weekend day when we got there, because, it was the busiest, the 405 freeway in Los Angeles, the busiest in the world. I think it still is. Anyway, we drove right there, and he was very nice. And we talked to him for about an hour and a half. He didn't put us up for a month and let us get our feet like we had hoped, but we got out there, and then we found an apartment in Hollywood. He got a job at a restaurant where he met his future wife. I eventually got a job at the Beverly Hilton Hotel as a pool manager. And that was you could not possibly design a better job for a young man, like a non-career type job, and it's like I inserted an ad for a lifeguard. Well, there's no lifeguarding going on there at all. It was just handing out towels and arranging, pool lounges for rich people. And, I had to have I had got a Beverly Hills business license so I could sell tanning oil and straw hats for, 5 or 6 times what I paid for them. It was an amazing, amazing thing for a couple of years. But there was no screenwriting going on. My friend met this girl. He ended up moving to Orange County and got married. And I had briefly encountered my future wife in Santa Monica. My first job was at a flower shop. We were low on money, and I saw help wanted. I was going on the way to pick him up from his job in Brentwood, and I saw this sign at this flower shop, the corner of Wilshire and 23rd, and it said help wanted. And I walked in and I said, I know nothing about flowers, but and he knew he needed somebody to fill the job. So he said, well, I'll train you. About 50 yards away was my future wife, lived in an apartment. I could have walked out the back door and been Romeo to her Juliet, if she was out on the balcony, that is. And she probably was, I'm sure I encountered her, she was only about 14 at the time. I was 21. So it wasn't time yet, but it was more like, the universe or the gods were telling me, okay, the wheels are turning. They're not clicking in. The tumblers aren't clicking in yet.
I'm going to interrupt you for 5 seconds. He's talking about his beautiful wife, Monique, and I just have to give her a shout out and tell her happy birthday to Rick's beautiful wife and my beautiful friend.
That's right. And thank you for saving me on that, because that's I should have introduced myself that way. Happy birthday, Monique. Yes. Anyway, but she was a young teenage girl. I'm sure her and her little beach baby friends were walking by, and I encountered her, but it would be years. It would be another 13 years before I met her. And so anyway, but the California experiment was about 2 years long. Great, making lots of money, having lots of fun. And, and then some rich guy came down on a cold, rainy day one spring in 1980. And it was 40 degrees in Los Angeles and raining. No one was at the pool. I was the only one on duty because I couldn't have anybody working for me that day, because it was just paying somebody for nothing. So I was, supposed to take lunch every day. So as soon as the cafeteria, opened, I went and ate lunch. Now some rich guy comes down, can't get a towel. He immediately screams at the general manager, who looks out his ivory tower, doesn't see me, doesn't bother to send anybody to the cafeteria. That's all he would have had to do. And because, he's like, he was upset that he couldn't find me. Well, there's only 2 places I'm going to be, at my desk or at the lunch, in the cafeteria. So anyway, so he fired me, and my assistant general manager came down and he said, he's just, he was kind of a crazy guy. And so the assistant manager says, just take the weekend off. don't worry about it. Call me on Monday. I'll smooth it with him. But the guy was adamant. He's like, no, I'm not saying I didn't deserve to be fired because I was, not the most dedicated employee ever, but, but not for that. It was stupid. But I think it was probably a good thing for me because it sort of closed by this time, my friend, my partner in crime, I no longer had. He had moved to Orange County with his, and he,
wife.
Yes. And so meanwhile, now I was, and then on the day I found out, on the Monday, when I called, I walked out from my apartment in West LA to go take a long drive and clear my head. And I walked out and my car had been stolen. Now I'm
You have no job.
Right. I've got my, so now I did get my car back. It had been stolen and shelled and everything else. And so while I waited for it to get back, I finally got it back. And it was a Datsun 260Z in 1974. We had gotten rid of the van and got a proper Southern California car. Because the van, we were starting to have to push it up off ramps on the freeways. Not a good look for Southern California. So we sold it to a guy that worked at the hotel and bought us, we shared the cost of this 1974 Datsun 260Z. A car
car back then.
True spoke wire wheels, silver, smoked black windows. We used to get stopped in Beverly Hills at stoplights, people offering us money to buy it. Would you sell that to me? This is the land of Ferraris and Mercedes and Rolls Royces, and that's how beautiful this car was. It was the ultimate symbol of our success, and now it was stolen and rendered. Anyway, I got it back, but it wasn't quite the same.
Yeah.
So I thought to myself, well, I'm gonna go take it. I'll reset myself back in Omaha. I'll go take a month-long vacation to Omaha, and get my center back.
Oh, you came back here.
I came back. I went. I took a long trip to visit my girlfriend in Connecticut. But by this time, and we had still long distance, but we had kept in touch. Wonderful girl. We had a great few days together. But she had met somebody at college. And, well, is it serious? Well, it was a little bit. He was a super nice guy. The pictures of him, it's like super nice guy, but his family was rich, and he had a 60-foot schooner, a sailboat. It wasn't his, it was the family schooner. But really, come on now, and it was a well-known family, big business. So those dreams were out.
Yeah.
I was trying to feel good about myself. So I went back to Omaha kind of with my tail tucked. I spent 4 years back there and did some very interesting things. Worked for a private investigation company, was a executive for that same company. And I was writing a newsletter. So I was actually getting paid to write back home in Omaha. But I met another friend, who grew up in Ralston, Nebraska. And he was a very talented artist, a commercial artist, but he loved comic books and he wanted to write screenplays. Well, who can do that? So he was very creative, couldn't really write screenplays yet, but he and I said, well, let's go back to California. So we did that, and in '84, and I took it more seriously then. I took more menial jobs. But always in driving situations. So I was driving a lot because that came naturally to me. Meanwhile, we did finish a really good screenplay, and it is still for sale. Thank you. If you would contact me if you'd like to buy it for several $1 million.
Rick, I got to stop you there for a minute. Harrison gave us a break sign, so let's take one final break, and we'll be back in just a moment.
At Valentino's, we're on a mission for tradition. On every slice, for every bite. Golden baked crust, cooked to perfection every time. Savory sweet sauce that's made from our own secret recipe. Loaded with the perfect amount of fresh toppings and melty mozzarella cheese. It's the tradition that Nebraskans have come to love. From game day to every day. Valentino's. Taste the tradition.
Give your furnace a break with the help of Heartland of Nebraska Windows. Heartland of Nebraska Windows offers a free estimate, full window replacements, all vinyl triple pane windows, and a lifetime warranty of everything, while still keeping their prices affordable. Sounds too good to be true, right? Heartland of Nebraska Windows is locally and family owned with their own team of installers. Give the window experts at Heartland of Nebraska Windows a call today at 402-430-3852 or visit them online at heartlandofnebraskawindows.com. Elevate your home or business with the help of Heartland of Nebraska Windows today.
A1 Automotive's second location is now open at 5110 State Hill Drive, just off of Yankee Hill Road. The new location continues to specialize in all makes and models and provides personalized service as they have for 15 years. With the school year here, A1 Automotive reminds you that college students get 10% off any service, and they offer free tire repair with a valid college ID. Schedule your appointment today at a1autolincoln.com and visit their new location in South Lincoln at 5110 State Hill Drive or downtown at 11th and L.
Have you been injured in an accident and don't know where to turn? You need an attorney you can trust to handle your case with professionalism and compassion. The attorneys at Liberty Law Group understand that a call to an attorney is a call for help. If you've been injured, we want to help you. Liberty Law's experienced attorneys are committed to the pursuit of justice for those injured. Call Liberty Law and find out how we can help you get the compensation you deserve. Call 877-42-LIBERTY. Call the trial attorneys you can trust. 877-42-LIBERTY.
Sheri Construction is now hiring for skilled craftsmen, steel erectors, concrete workers, and general laborers. Sheri Construction offers great benefits like premium wages, health and dental insurance, paid holidays and vacation, 401k with company match, life insurance, and disability insurance. They pride themselves on a legacy of 40 years built on integrity and trust. Joining their team means becoming part of a family that values hard work, dedication, and mutual respect. Apply today at shwizo.com. That's SCHWISOW.com.
Since 1983, Fast Mike's Rollouts has been an trusted and reliable company in Lincoln and the surrounding areas. Fast Mike's handles all sides of construction projects, home renovations, or big cleanouts. With the perfect size dumpster to fit your needs, Fast Mike's Rollouts will haul it all. With same-day delivery in Lincoln, affordable rates, and top-notch service, Fast Mike's Rollouts make cleanup quick and easy. Call now at 402-450-6828 or visit us online at fastmikesrollouts.com. Book your dumpster today. Fast Mike's Rollouts, cleanup made simple.
Are you looking for an exciting new way to put your skills to work? Explore new career options in the fintech industry at Currency, a Sandhills global company. We offer full-time positions in financial sales, compliance, operations, and other fields. We also offer a 4.5-day work week, an attractive benefits package, and opportunities for advancement. Put your motivation to work and grow with us at Currency. Visit gocurrency.com/careers to learn more.
Breaking here at the news desk. When you stack Allo Internet, DirecTV, and mobile, you can lock in your price for 2 years. Sources are confirming that when you stack Allo Internet, DirecTV, and mobile, your monthly price drops and you're locked in for 2 years. That's fiber fast internet, premium streaming TV, and reliable nationwide mobile coverage. And this just in, you must switch by Labor Day to secure that locked-in pricing for 2 years. Switch, stack, and save at allofiber.com/stack.
Bring new life to metal treasures with Kaiser Blasting and Coatings. From railings and fences to outdoor furniture and unique antiques, their expert team removes years of rust and weathering, then finishes each piece with a lasting powder coat. Trusted by industries across the region, now local homeowners and businesses can experience the same professional care. Visit KaiserBlasting.com or call 402-421-3559 to request your quote. Restore, protect, and make your metal shine like never before with the help of Kaiser Blasting and Coatings.
Gaina Trucking is hiring CDL Class A and B drivers. Their strong team culture makes it not a job, but a career. Gaina Trucking offers health, vision, and dental insurance, 401k with company match, an employee assistance program, and other bonus programs. Build a better career today with great team culture at Gaina Trucking. Learn more and apply today at GainaTrucking.com.
Back to What's Next 24 from the 93.7 The Ticket Studio with the authors of Next 24, Michael Worrell and Sheri Tills.
right, welcome back in. Final segment. Don't got a ton of time here left, so throw it over to the host, Mike and Sheri.
All right, well, welcome back, everyone. We're back with Ricky Dean, as I said, a.k.a. Ricky Dean. We are back blazing his trail. Rick, I got to ask you as I talked on break again, though. You had a vision for a plan, but it wasn't just like a roadmap of A, B, C, or D, was it?
It wasn't, because, again, growing up in Omaha, that was a very strange way to go about things. It was like, okay, well, you can be a writer when you come home from being a fireman. It's a hobby. So it was necessarily for us we were just, making it up as we went along, as they say. So, yeah.
Well, go start again now. Tell us in terms of the story. You said you were a late bloomer. I don't believe this. I don't believe this for a second.
It's true.
But it's true.
Yep.
Tell us how the music began.
Okay.
Oh, yes. This is my favorite.
So after Los Angeles, I discovered the reason that we had to go back to Los Angeles. It was to get my other friend married off too. So I was not a screenwriter then. I was a matchmaker. Both guys I went to California with found a wife and got married. So but I hadn't found my wife. And so eventually I did. She picked me up at a coffee shop in West Hollywood, and we've been together for 34 years. So I think that was probably why I was back in Los Angeles. Mm-hmm. I did take classes. I did have some success. I got good feedback about writing. But eventually, she and I got together, moved to Santa Fe, got married there, then moved to Denver for 25 years. All along, I was in some kind of transportation business as a day job, and did very well at those things. But in about, when I turned 50, I read an ad it was a Craigslist ad. Somebody was advertising for a singer for a rockabilly band. I contacted them. Yeah, let's rehearse. The place the band rehearsed was just down the street from where I lived. And I lived in Lakewood on the west side of town. It was just literally right down the street. I get there. The other three guys all have Nebraska connections. The stand-up bass players from Ceresco. It was not Ernie, but it was, so and the other two guys had spent a lot of time in Nebraska, blah, blah, blah. So it seemed like a good omen. I started writing some music. We had some great success, and that band was called the Red Line Rockets. And I called myself Ricky Dean because it sounded more rockabilly-like. So that's kind of a stage name, and Dean being my middle name. But so that was, very late start, but we had some incredible experiences. We got to play the 50th anniversary Buddy Holly tribute in Clear Lake, Iowa at the Surf Ballroom. That's the last place Buddy Holly played. And of course, the Big Bopper and Richie Valens. But the guy that introduced us that night, we opened the show one night. The guy that introduced us was the DJ in 1959. And he was also the guy, you may have heard the famous coin flip story where Waylon Jennings lost out.
Wow.
Okay. So that was the guy that introduced us. We had a great time. And we also had gigs in Viva Las Vegas, the Rockabilly World Festival. Did very well. I got a chance to do some really excellent things. The writing, I have had some success all along. I wrote for a couple different magazines, articles and stuff like that. And I did sell one screenplay, a small one in Denver. It was never produced, but I'm now currently working on a memoir / travelogue. And I'm just about done with it. It should be coming out in the next few months. It's called The Next 100 Miles. And it is basically a celebration of the road trip, the lure and the lore of the open road, and as it relates to my life. And so the idea there is that it's a journey. People say, it's not the journey, it's the destination. And my addition to that is the journey is the destination, and you don't want to reach the destination. You don't want it to finish, because then it's over. So it's an ongoing thing. And it's kind of about, some of the narrative is about, my discovering that none of this, what would appear to be a failure, is such. It's something about, if you have to follow your heart in this way, and find your own, blaze your own trail, follow your journey, and not listen to any naysayers who have not walked in your shoes. And they are essentially a kind of angel speed bump sort of thing. It's an obstacle placed in front of you to tell you that you can't do what you want to do. And that is not true. And I would like to, encourage people to, go in the direction of your dreams, and good things will happen to you.
Rick, quick question before we get out of here. Just want to ask you this, because we always do this. One, I want to turn over the mic to you, what you'd like to say to the community, Lincoln or Omaha, from your heart. And two, where can people find your music?
Well, you can find some things on YouTube. Some of my live performances, they're not the greatest recordings because it's usually a phone, and it's usually somebody that's got it turned upside down. And so it's, there's some of that. I have some recordings here and there. I have 3 CDs out there, but currently I have no idea where they are, in a box in a garage, because we moved to Las Cruces.
Some are in my car.
Some are in her car.
And
she's not giving them up.
No, I'm not, because they're signed. And they might be worth something someday. But actually, his YouTube videos, I'm actually in one of them.
Is that right?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Anyways, you keep going.
And real quick, we're just going to close out. What would you like to say to the community?
Hey, just, point yourself towards the horizon that looks good to you, and never expect to reach it.
Rick, thank you for being on the
Thank
show.
you
We
so
appreciate
much,
it so much. Sherry, any final words?
No, I get really emotional with this guy. He's just, I've known him forever, and I lost my brother when he was 30, and God replaced me with the big brother and this man right here.
Well, very
And
good. All right. Thanks, everybody. We got to go, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you.